So we had a few audio problems when we went live, so we're going to re-record this and hopefully say everything we said before exactly the way we did, and it'll be awesome. So tech challenges are always fun. They're resolved, and we'll carry on forward from there. But let me bring up my notes wherever they ran away to. I want to welcome you to the day number one community of the three pillars of entrepreneurial success 3-day challenge with my partner and co-founder of Wolfpack Mentors, Dina Brown Mitchell. My name is Christopher Diarmani, for those who don't know me, and we are really excited to have you here for this replay because, tech fun is tech fun. But before we get underway with today's pillar, which is community, I want for Dina and I to share a little bit about what the Wolfpack Mentors is, why it was created, what we do through it, how we serve others, why we're doing what we're doing. I guess is a really great way to put that. So, Dina, how would you like to kick us off with some thoughts around what is the Wolfpack Mentors for starters?
Sure. Excuse me. Wolfpack Mentors is something Christopher and I created because we couldn't find what we wanted for ourselves in our own businesses. And I think that the reason we were both on a journey for the last 4 years, basically, of learning from other people, being in online groups, masterminds, communities, and learning a lot, but also learning a lot of what we didn't want. And I think that, part of what it was learning from other people, but not ever getting that one-on-one feedback and not getting that interaction and community kind of thing. And I was even in a group that was amazing, but there was no small, small like groups that could help each other through it. So we started creating them on our own. And now that community has accountability groups, but they didn't back then. And it was something we just all did on our own. And it wasn't led by the organization that we were paying to be part of. So I think that was part of the reason. And the other part is that we found a tool, a tech tool that changed our lives basically because we were both paying for 5 or 6 different platforms. We had a hard time getting them to work together. We didn't have the solutions we needed for what we were trying to do in our business to help it grow. So I think those reasons are what drove Christopher and I to start Wolfpack Mentors. So we could provide what we couldn't find anywhere to other people as a package deal instead of, paying so many people so much money and still not getting what we needed. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Touching on that tech issue, I'm a WordPress guy. I've been working in WordPress for probably 15 years, building sites for myself, for other people, all that kind of stuff. And I was presenting to our group. This is after Dina and I had started the mastermind group and brought other people in. And I was showing off the funnel for my writers challenge that I was starting, and for the enrollment for the mastermind I was running for writers, and the landing page didn't work. You could click on the button, but nothing would happen. And it's not like I don't know how to make WordPress work. I do, and yet something had gone horribly wrong, and here I was displaying it for everybody else, and then losing my mind in the moment only because I didn't know what the problem was. And that sort of led us to this new platform, which, as Dina said so correctly, changed everything. And because it changed everything for us, it's one of the bonuses that we give when people join our mastermind, is that it's a great platform. It's a go high level platform, and we have our own white label version of that. And when you join us, you get to have a full account of your own on the platform. And So that solves the tech problem that so many people tend to have. It gets that out of the way so we can focus on the things that really matter. And in terms of the 3 days that we're talking about here, day one is community, day two is collaboration, day three is accountability. Here on day one with community, it allows us to focus on things that will help us grow as individuals and as business owners and our businesses as well. But it helps us do it in a way where our minds are more at ease because we don't have that big tech problem hanging over our head. We're not paying exorbitant money for something that doesn't actually work together. I want to touch a little bit on, I guess I'll start with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maybe I'll go there next. Let me get to the right spot here. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we start off with three basic needs. Well, sorry, five basic needs overall. Number one is physiological needs. If we have air, food, water, if we can breathe, if we can get hydration, if we can get food in our bellies, we can survive. And if we can get the next level up, which is our safety needs, our security needs, that means we have like a roof over our head. We have somewhere safe that we can actually sleep and not get eaten by mountain lions or whatever it happens to be. We're able to take care of ourselves and our families. And then the next level up, like once those two basic levels are met, then we start getting into community or tribe or whatever language you want to put around that. We're getting into talking with other people around, or meeting with other people, helping other people with things that allow us to serve one another in the ways that we're meant to serve one another. I mean, we're put on this planet to serve other people, and that's such a huge, huge thing. And the community aspect of it, in my mind, there's two different versions of that that are really symbiotic. First, there's the community level where we as business owners, as people who are running a small business, are able to help one another. And that's really what the core mastermind group is all about. It's the accountability groups, as we call them. Their sole purpose is to give us that sense of community with people who are just like us doing things together so we can help one another. We can share our deepest, darkest secrets as to what's going on. We can be open, vulnerable, authentic, all of those things that are so required. But it also gives us an avenue for reflecting on, well, how do we build that sense of community for our clients, for our right fit clients, for the people who we serve? So there's those two aspects of it that I think are just so critically important. Dina, you want to carry in from there? Weigh in from there?
I mean, community is by far the biggest way we can propel ourselves and our business forward.
Amen.
It's invaluable in many ways. I think first, Christopher, we need to tell people who we are.
Yes, we do.
So
Go, Dina, go. Yeah.
Start. I grew up in Louisiana. I've moved a lot in my life and lived in a lot of different places. But I'm still a hardcore LSU football fan. have to mention that.
Yeah.
And so I grew up in a little town outside of New Orleans, between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. And my mom owned a nursery school since I was a year old. And so in high school, I had my first business where I had a snowball stand, or snow cone stand for those of you in the mountain country. And that was my business throughout high school. And my dad said, if you need something, you better order it. And if you don't want to work, you better train somebody. And that was my trial by fire in business at 14. So since then, I've owned several businesses, some massive failures, some massive successes. And so that's kind of how my life started. And then I spent about 15 years or maybe a little more, in hotels and restaurants, mostly focused on operations and events and conference services. And then in 2010, I started my event company that I owned for 10 years. It grew to multi-seven figures, and I lost it all to COVID. So when I lost that business, I was really searching for what is my purpose in this world and what am I supposed to do now? So I started a nonprofit called the Realize Foundation. It is about suicide prevention, and we publish books. We have a best-selling Amazon book series, and we also have a podcast. And then I've done some other things on my own with my Shower Genius book, with a framework for entrepreneurs. And then I also have really gotten excited about Wolfpack Mentors with Christopher and what we're doing. So that's a little bit about me.
Yay. Yay, Dina. And a little about me, where should I start? I've been a writer my whole life. I wrote my very first book, if you can call it that, when I was in high school, and it was atrocious. And I'm being kind when I say atrocious. My English teacher gave me a C minus and basically said, well, I think the words were, this was a very ambitious work, because it was supposed to be an essay, and I wrote like 85 pages. And I came across that years later, like 20 years later, and I thought, oh, this is awesome. This is really cool. I can turn this thing into a real book now that I know so much more. I couldn't get through the first page. It was that bad. It was that bad. So that led me, but that first massive, horrible failure, if you will, led me to try and figure out, well, how can I actually write a real book and write it well? And that led me through a process of learning a bunch of stuff. And I eventually came up with a system that works for me, and it's a system that I now teach to others so they can write and publish their books. I've got, as of today, 50 published books. 6 or 8 of those have gone on to be Amazon bestsellers. So that's really, really fun, really exciting, really cool. I also spent 15 years working in the movie industry, and I'm going to talk a lot more about that tomorrow when we're talking about collaboration, because the movie industry literally is all about collaboration. And through that time, I spent a lot of hours working. I would basically come home on weekends and sleep, say hello to my wife for like 3 minutes, and then I would drive back into the city to go work for the next week. And we would work around the clock. It was crazy hours. 16 hours was kind of an average day. And we would start at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Monday and work around the clock until we were not even starting work until like 5 o'clock on a Friday. So I'm no stranger to hard work. I'm no stranger to doing things that are required. I took a year off before going to university, and it's been one heck of a year as a result of that. I'm self-taught in literally everything that I do. So when it comes to tech stuff, I've taught myself all of that. I've taught myself how to computer program, all those sorts of things. And that attitude of persistence has served really well, especially when we're trying to build something like the Wolfpack Mentors, because there's a lot to be done. And there's lots of challenges along the way, and those challenges never stop. I mean, we had one today with the tech, right? It happens. And along that journey, what I learned through the COVID period as well, that's where Dina and I met. We were on a 3-day event with somebody, I forget who, and we were tossed into a breakout room together, and then we were both going to another event a little later, and it happened again, and we thought, well, we should probably just remain connected outside of this sort of a thing and see what happens. And for both of us, I think we realized that we liked each other, we were getting to know each other and trust each other on deeper and deeper levels all the time. And one day when Dina and I were having one of those calls, just helping each other out with what we were doing, Dina said, well, why don't we just turn this into a mastermind and invite some other people in? And that was a really great idea. And that's ultimately how the Wolfpack Mentors was formed. We started a couple of those, Dina actually took the lead on that. She started 2 groups. Her and I were in one together, and she led a second one as well. And that taught us a lot about how to make the system work effectively. And as Dina has shared before, one of the really common things that we heard is, this is the one meeting a week I don't miss. I'll blow off every other Zoom call I've got coming, but I'm not missing this one because I get too much value out of it to be able to not show up. And those comments told us that we're on the right track. Really, really did. And that's, I guess the exciting part for me is that Like Dina, I run a nonprofit as well, and I'm focused on a different area than she is, but it's all service to other people who are deeply in need. And that attitude of service, I think, is something that infuses both Dina and I to our core. We believe in helping others in whatever way we possibly can. And for business owners like ourselves, we believe that the very best way we can help others, the best way we can serve others, is to give them that pressure cooker, if you will, for one analogy, or that launch pad, to use another, for personal and business growth. Because when we're in a small group where we can be open, honest, vulnerable, authentic, like let it all hang out and not hide from each other, there is so many amazing things that can happen. And that's the true benefit. Like, it goes back to, like, accountability is such a huge part of this. When you show up just that one day a week for 1 hour, really cool things happen. Really cool things happen. And it's all because, for me, boils down to, if I'm holding myself accountable, I may or may not do the thing that I say I want to do. But if I tell Dina, hey Dina, I'm going to sit down and write at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and would you please check up on me at 10 o'clock to make sure I did it? Well, that's a commitment that is external, and the way my brain is wired, unfortunately, I wish it were different. The way my brain is wired is that if I make a commitment to someone else, I am way more likely to uphold that commitment than I am if I'm just to say to myself, well, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I'm going to get up and write for half an hour. I may or may not. You know, I'm a night hawk. I may not even be awake at 9 o'clock in the morning, for that matter. So that external accountability is, and the openness, the vulnerability, the authenticity that grows through know, like, trust. Like, we talk about know, like, trust, the KLT factor, if you will, in marketing all the time, and we're trying to build that KLT factor in our right fit clients. Well, when we apply that inward, and I think that's part of what makes the Wolfpack Mentors so unique and so valuable, is we turn some of these principles, marketing principles, if you want to call them that, inwards upon ourselves. So in the context of these groups, if we can build that know, like, trust factor with 3 or 4 other people in a small accountability group, and we're all doing that together, it is astounding what gets shared. It gets astounding what help arrives out of the most unlikely of fields. Really, really powerful. Really powerful.
I have some examples about that. Because when I had my event company, I had such a community. It took time to build it, but there were so many aspects of community that were part of my business growing. And part of it was my local community, my team, my vendors that were also business owners that I got to collaborate with and have hard conversations with to help each other. Also, I was part of a global sales organization with 75 other companies like mine around the world, which was also invaluable. And then I sat on 3 industry boards. So the connections and the exchange of ideas and creativity was huge, because first of all, in the event industry, creativity is number one, because if you can't produce an event that's different and pleasing and good for the attendees and focused on the attendees, then you fail. So there was just so much about that industry and about the environments that I was in that was creating creativity and creating the connections and the community. And so I learned a lot from that. And I think that all of us need that, because when we're sitting in our office or our couch with our laptop as a solopreneur, like, we are all alone. And that's how I started that event company. And as I got more involved in the industry and more involved with other business owners, the more involved with the network and the connections I had, the more my business grew. And the other part of that is the self-care side that I talked a little bit about. But as a business owner, we're also usually in a place where we have a lot of overwhelm, a lot of stress, a lot of exhaustion, a lot of fear and worry, maybe even about, can I make payroll Friday? You know, all of those things come into play. And I think if we start from the beginning or start wherever you are and learn how to put yourself first and learn how to use the team around you, whether they're full-time managers or whether they're contractors. We use a team around you to help get some things off your plate that you don't physically have to do every day. If you can do that, I promise you, your business will grow, you will be happier, you will have a more clear mind, to have more creative ideas to implement in your business, and the growth will happen. And I tell you this from experience. I had 3 years of 200% growth early in my business. And then I reached 7 figures, and then I kind of had a roadblock. And what I learned is the roadblock was me. It wasn't that we had new competition in the market. It wasn't any of those things. It was me. Because I was trying to do too much, and I wasn't giving my team the responsibility that they actually wanted. And when I started delegating things and taking myself out of certain SOPs, I thought it was going to go the opposite way. And the next year, our revenue doubled. So I think it's very important, and this is what I feel like the rest of my life work is that to grow a business, you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your mind, your health, your mindset, your physical body. Like, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't have the lack of brain fog you need in order to have the right strategy to grow your business. And so I think that is so important. It's pretty much all I talk about these days. And my favorite concept is becoming MIA, which is missing intentionally alone. And that means whether you're going to lunch by yourself with a book, or whether you're taking a walk around the block, or whether you're going to an Airbnb for a weekend by yourself to de-stress, engage in something fun or that you're excited about, and then having the last part of that be, brainstorming what you need to do in the coming weeks to get where you want to be. And that's one of my favorite concepts I've written about. And so I think it's just so important that we not only focus on business, but we focus on us. And you have to have both in order to have some sort of balance in your life. And I promise you'll get more success in doing that.
100%. The mental health aspect of things is so pervasive, and yet we don't tend to give it the weight that it deserves. So I know from my own life, I typically use the experience of the year before my wife was diagnosed with stage 3C breast cancer, and the year after that diagnosis. The year before, during National Novel Writing Month, I easily wrote 106,000 words and a first draft of a novel, and it was effortless because I was in a good place mentally, I was a good place spiritually, I was a good place physically. Like all the aspects of my life were in great alignment, and life was really, really simple. And then the next year, after Linda was diagnosed with breast cancer, that was about 3 months before November. So that year's National Novel Writing Month, I tried, and because of all of the stress, all my waking moments were spent making sure that Linda was okay because she was going through chemotherapy and all of those sorts of things. And for anyone who's been through that, chemotherapy is really no fun. The cure for cancer will kill you, so it's just not a lot of fun. But because my entire being was focused on her and her needs, and as they should be, making sure that she was okay through all of this, I would get to the end of a day, she would finally fall asleep at 10 or 11 or midnight, and I would have a minute for myself, and I was so physically and mentally exhausted. And yet I knew that I had to sit down and write just for my own sanity. But that year, I still had I still finished a complete first draft of a novel in November, but it was much shorter. It barely broke 50,000 words, and it took me the first either 11 or 13 days. I've got the calendar here around somewhere. It took me, let's go with 11. It took me 11 days to break 5,000 words because I did not have a calm mind. I did not have a calm spirit. I did not have a calm life. And so I've used that experience to share with others, like, if you're trying to write, you need a calm mind on all levels. And if you don't have that, writing is going to be impossible. It's going to be what people like to call a writer's block. And it simply means you haven't taken care of yourself on one hand, and the other is you simply don't know enough about what you're writing yet. Those are the two aspects to it, basically. But when it comes to running a business, the same principle applies. I cannot be focused. I cannot be controlled. I will not have the clarity. That's the word that I wrote down when Dina was talking. I won't have the clarity that I require to make the decisions that I need to make to move myself and my business forward. So that's why Dina and I focus so heavily on mental health, because it is the biggest single factor that's going to shift your life and your business forward faster than anything else.
Very true. Again, I've ignored it for decades, and
yeah. Well, as did I through the movie industry. It's like we're literally running 16 hours a day. Sleep deprivation is a way of life in the movie industry because of just the nature of the business. There's no way around it. And when you're
in hospitality are no different.
No, they're exactly the same thing, because the focus is the same, although slightly different. Your focus in the industry is making sure the clients are happy. For us in the movie industry, it's making sure the director is happy. The director is, I guess in that context, the client. And so everything is being done to serve their vision for whatever it is that we're doing. And sleep, proper nutrition, exercise, yeah, good luck with all of that, because
well, there's a plan. Everybody wants it.
It's always a plan if someone wants it, absolutely. And
I really, and I should just say this, my Shower Jeans book was something I never really, I had written in chapters in other people's books, but I had never written anything myself. And when Christopher and I were starting to have conversations about Wolfpack and stuff, I was like, I really want to write this book, and I'm speaking in like 6 weeks in Vegas, and I want to have it, I want to physically have the book for that, but I'm really stuck because have all these ideas, but they're not organized. And so I had a call with Christopher, and
that
we
was
walked
funny.
through like an exercise that he teaches people and organization and how to do that. And I said, okay. And after that call, I wrote the whole thing.
She disappeared. I didn't hear from her for 6 weeks. It was great.
And in 5 weeks, it was on Amazon.
Yeah.
Just in time for my speaking gig in Vegas. And yeah, it was fascinating to learn how Christopher writes and how he teaches people to write, because it definitely helped me get that out the door.
What was fun is, like, Dana's a great case study for me because she had all the pieces of the puzzle. She was just missing one small thing. And once she had that last missing piece of information, literally, she disappeared for 5 weeks or whatever it was. And the next time I heard from her, it was like, hey, look what I got! And holding up a copy of her book. And I'm like, that is so fantastic.
So I think the bigger point, again, is community, and collaboration, because without each other and the community support and the accountability piece we're going to talk about more, it's really hard to go it alone and be by yourself with your own thoughts, with trying to listen to a bunch of different noise about what you should do and deciding what is the right business strategy and path for you. And I think that's what Wolfpack Mentors is all about. And it's really about all of us with our experiences and how we can give each other perspective and give each other feedback so we can get to where we want to be.
Because the entrepreneurial journey is one of solitude. Like, we may have employees, but as Dina has talked about before, it doesn't mean that we can talk to them in the way we need to talk about what's going on. Doesn't happen. And that loneliness is a real thing, whether you're a solopreneur sitting on your couch with your laptop, like Dina said, or whether you're running a company with 50 employees. That loneliness is still there. And community is the antidote to that. So whether that's with us or whether it's with someone else, like, get yourself into a community of like-minded people that can help you through those challenges because they understand, because they're going through it at the same time. So very important.
And I also think it's important that, whether you are that solopreneur or you have 50 employees, we still have value to offer each other.
Absolutely.
And I think that if you have a community of everybody who's exactly the same level, it's probably good. But I think to have people in different industries and different levels is also good, because you're going to learn from each other. And even some of the bigger companies are going to learn something from a solopreneur. So don't disregard somebody because they're not at the level you're at, because everybody has different experiences and different perspectives. And that solopreneur on the couch with their laptop may have owned a multi-seven-figure business like I did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So you just have to, create the community and the connections and see where it takes you.
So if you are an entrepreneur and you're feeling that you're all alone and that nobody understands, then perhaps something like with the Wolfpack Mentors is the right fit for you. So we're going to talk more about this in a couple of days, but show up tomorrow when we talk about collaboration, because that's a much bigger, like, we designed this in this order on purpose. We want to talk about community because that's really how things start. It's one of the basic needs, as I talked about earlier, where we need to feel like we belong. We need to have that sense of community, that sense of connection. And then when we add collaboration on top of that, now we're getting input and we're giving input to others. So we're becoming servants to one another, and we're helping one another in ways that we just can't do alone while we're sitting alone in our office at the top of a skyscraper, or alone on our couch with a laptop. Either one is the same feeling. Doesn't change at all. And then we add the accountability on day 3, and that's really the core of what we talk about. The community, collaboration, and accountability. For me, they're really all intertwined. And yes, they're individual silos, if you will, but when you put the 3 of them together, they're greater than the sum of the 3 individual parts. And that's what makes Wolfpack Mentors so powerful. It really does.
And I think the other thing just to mention is really our core values are around mindset and business strategy. So when you put that together with the 3 pillars, it's really everything you need to get to the next level.
So with that, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And I look forward to seeing you. Dina and I both look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow, when we're going to dive a lot deeper into the collaboration aspect of all of this. So until then, have an amazing rest of your day. Bye for now.